You're very welcome along. I'm going to speak to a sports star of a different sort now, Mike LaBelle. He's a professional FIFA player for the New York Red Bulls. Esports has really grown in the past few years, and I just wanted to get to know what it's like to actually play in some of those tournaments and actually train as a professional FIFA player as opposed to an actual football player. I suppose we'll start from the beginning. How does a boy from Texas end up as a professional FIFA player?
Well, I kind of have a similar story to a lot of people that grew up playing any types of sports. So I grew up playing soccer. Please don't kill me. I know it's football, but I feel like for the Americans here. So I grew up playing soccer, and that was the sport that I was passionate about, and also playing basketball. And then afterward, I would go home and be able to kind of control the superstars via FIFA. So I was able to have my own season of the Invincibles and really be able to grow with these different clubs and just that's what I enjoyed doing. Like in my spare time, the only difference was I was playing against all the kids kind of in the neighborhood, and I was like, all right, I'm better than all of the people that are around me. What's next? And that's when I kind of got introduced to online play. I had a friend at the time that was competing in Halo, which is a bit of a throwback, first Halo, and he came over, big Ethernet cord, plugged it up. My parents probably hated him because it was like a 50-foot Ethernet cord through the house. And I started playing online, and at that point, I was still okay. I'm still better than the people that are playing online. Are there tournaments? What's the next step? Is there a progression here? Because we're going all the way back to 2006 area. Yeah. So this is over a decade ago, and esports weren't developed like that. Online gaming in general really wasn't developed as a community. In fact, I think people were still using Xbox Live as a form of making free phone calls long distance for free. Like it's no problem, right? Hey, let me call my friend from Europe. It's not going to cost me anything to do this. But that was my next step. And then from there, I started going to tournaments, and then I was performing really well. I was winning events. And as someone who was always a competitor with sports, this was just another outlet for me. And it involved everything that I enjoyed doing. It kind of had the sports side, it had the gaming side, and then it had that competitive passion where you go to an event and it was a matter of could you put together basically the best package for that day or for that weekend if it was a 2-day event. Could I bring my best gameplay? Was I going to be able to adjust to my opponent? And it was like a new form of competing, and I was super, super pumped with the first time I went to an event. And you had the butterflies, the nerves, everything that made competition so good. Right.
So 2006 was probably your first major tournament. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so I won the FIFA Interactive World Cup qualifier in 2000. I think it was 2007, but it was still, they kind of ran it into 2006, 2007, and that took me to Amsterdam. I had 2 free tickets where my dad came with me, and that was kind of the first, I guess, solidified. Like I've been telling my parents for 2 years at least, I'm not wasting time. I promise you I'm really good at video games. And as a parent, especially at that time period, we're dealing with the only social media platform we got is MySpace. So at that time period, my parents are like, this kid is crazy. Yeah, he's getting angry over a video game. He's got this big Ethernet cord going through our house. I hate this.
2006 is very early days in the terms of online gaming. How has the competition changed since then? Obviously, the competitions are completely massive now. It must have been a pretty low-key back then, was it?
I don't know if I want to say it was low-key, but you did see some of the same faces. And all the way up to even 2017, before we had FUT Champs announced and before EA started not only sanctioning events, but also putting a big budget behind running these events and really pushing eSports as a competitive movement within FIFA. Before that, we always had tournaments. Every year there was a bunch of tournaments. You could make money, but I would consider it a hobby. It was a competitive hobby. It was a game that everybody played. If you won these events, of course, you made enough money maybe to say, hey, this is a job, but it was only if you won, because second place or third place, it was not going to be a good look in terms of prize money. But we never knew either. Like every single year, I didn't know how many tournaments were there going to be. Was there going to be a FIFA Interactive World Cup, World Cyber Games, Electronic Sports World Cup? We had the Virgin Gaming portion of competitive, I guess, sports titles, really, for a couple of years there, where they pumped a bunch of money into it, and we just didn't know as consumers. So everything changed in 2017 because then EA created this space and all the clubs got involved, and it really gave the competitive movement a lot of credibility.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about these tournaments, because for everyone looking in, they don't really know that much about them. So what's the kind of setup? What kind of format do they use? What's the pressure like when you're involved in these tournaments?
I've played in all sorts of different events in terms of, I guess, setup. I've been to single elimination tournaments. I've been to tournaments where they put you in groups randomly. I've been to tournaments where they seed you. Currently, what we're using is called the Swiss format, which is more common to see at the moment, even though I will say Paris Games Week just happened, and that was with a group stage, and then you had to qualify to get to that group stage, and then it was an in-person event and so forth. So it does jump around a little bit, but for the major EA events, at least based on last year, and I'm sure this year will be the same, they use a Swiss format, which is good. Basically, what that means for you guys at home, if you're wondering, if I win my first matchup, so I'm 1-0, I'm going to play somebody else who's 1-0 at the tournament. If I win that next matchup and I'm 2-0, I'm going to play somebody else that's 2-0 at that tournament. If I win that next matchup, then I'll be 3-0 and so forth and so on. And how it works is basically you get your placement for the following day once you've reached 4 wins.
Yeah.
Or 5 wins. So it's like that. But you always play someone at the same place that you're at. So you get a lot of 3-3 matchups, 2-2 match. And it's really interesting because you just go back and forth. It's almost like an emotional roller coaster. And I feel like the people that are watching these games can kind of grow with the player, whether they're making comebacks or they're falling apart. And it's also fair to the competitive player because it's not just one game. Because that's another thing. We used to get just bad draws sometimes, and that's just the luck of how it goes.
And just on that, you were saying that so it's an emotional roller coaster sometimes. Obviously, at home when you're playing with your friends, some people go a bit nuts then. Like, do people go nuts at these tournaments? I'm sure they do.
Absolutely. You get a little bit of everything. We've seen rage quits at events. We've seen broken controllers at events. I've been to events where I saw a monitor get tossed once. That's not really in this new era, so otherwise that would have went viral for sure. Yeah. But, I've seen sweat rags get thrown. I've also seen people have no reaction, stone cold.
What would cause a rage quit? Don't even
want to do an interview. Huh?
What would cause a rage quit at one of these?
You're getting mad. It's pretty normal. I think all of us fall in love with FIFA every week and hate FIFA every single week, and that's kind of part of the process. Like, if we made a video of what it's like to play FIFA, it would be hilarious because of like how excited you are and then how mad you are and then how happy you are. And, when you get a penalty kick, when you miss a penalty kick and you get the results you're looking for and you beat your friends, you lose to your friends. It's just one of those titles that seems to bring out so many different emotions that one most people didn't even know they had that many emotions, and then all of a sudden they start playing FIFA.
Yeah, and just going away from these tournaments a little bit, you're also playing for the New York Red Bulls. What's that like? What's it like being in a professional football club and being an e-gamer there?
I couldn't be happier, man. I really feel like this has been like the next step with everything with the EMLS and eSports in North America, and being a part of an organization once again gives this instant credibility, and it allows people to put more time into trying to become a pro, or trying to become a creator, or trying to become an influencer. With joining an organization such as the New York Red Bulls or any of these clubs, it automatically gives you this instant credibility, and you're building up your CV, you're building up your resume, and you're learning. Because when I was in college or when I was in university, they didn't teach you how to edit videos. They didn't teach you the equipment that was needed to obviously be a pro gamer or maybe to be an editor or to be someone in the creative marketing space. I feel like we're in this state of transmedia right now, where you need to know a little bit of everything. If you want to be involved as a producer, it's no longer, you just edit videos or you just shoot from behind a camera. You kind of have to be a mix of understanding videography, editing, if you want to be the personality as well, what to say, what not to say, how to say it. And this all applies to media training that also applies to competitive gaming and esports.
And what's your connection with the players? Do you get to interact with the players for the New York Red Bulls, and how seriously do they take you as a colleague and a part of the Red Bull team?
I can only speak, of course, for the Red Bulls, but it's been amazing. Like I get treated just like a player from the organization and the people that work there, and I think I know almost everyone on the team. Like, hey, how are you doing? Yada yada. We can have conversations, chop it up, go out for dinner. A lot of them live really close to me. They're just a bunch of really really great, genuine guys. I think that's something that people would find is more common than maybe the expectation, especially in the MLS. I feel like Major League Soccer in general, a lot of the players are very down to earth. I haven't met as many guys from Europe, so maybe I'm just making all sorts of the wrong assumptions or judgments, but it's been a pleasure, and we've made a lot of videos together, and we've been able to, just like I said, just kick back off camera. Last night, I was actually at a soccer event, and a couple of the guys were there as well.
And how often would you train then for your for Red Bulls for your games?
I mean, I'm playing games every week, so I'm probably playing. 7 days in a week, 6 days. FIFA's getting turned on right now, but we're also in like the major portion of the season, where like the game came out late September. We're doing this at the very beginning of November. Everybody that's playing FIFA right now is definitely dedicated.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that e-gamers might not get the reputation that they deserve is because some people look at them and they're just playing the Xbox or just playing the PlayStation. Some people think, yeah, I could do that, but I think what most people don't understand that you guys are actually the elite of the elite at this. And if somebody who's just an ordinary everyday FIFA player comes up against one of you, it's probably going to be an 8 or 9 thrashing.
Well, the other thing, too, is a lot of people wouldn't trade with you the pressure. When you're representing an organization or brands or sponsors and your own personal legacy, you want to do well.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when you go to an event, whether it's going well or it's not going well for you, you have to be able to stay focused and stay really driven for whether it's the next event if you're already out, or maybe you have a bad game. But like I said, in the Swiss format, you're allowed to have some bad games and you can still progress. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. If you catch us online, most likely it's going to be a good result for us.
I want to talk to you about your YouTube channel as well before we go, because I'm just conscious we're getting on time here. So you do different tutorials for the best formations, best players, different games now, FIFA 19. Talk to us a little bit about that. How'd that come about?
So when I was finishing university, I had kind of hit this point where I was at a crossroads where if I wanted to continually play FIFA, I wanted to still do this, I couldn't just be a player, like a pro player. I needed to start making something a little more sustainable so you could justify the time. Because like I said, it was a hobby that you could make money doing and I loved it. But when you graduate from university, it's time to either build into a career, or in my case, I had started creating content, which then created a lane for myself, which I was really excited about. And it just was so many different skills that I didn't have coming out of college. And I'm so appreciative of all the people that have subscribed and followed, and they interact and engage with me on a daily basis. But basically what happened, I watch YouTube to figure out how to do things. Yeah. So I would go to YouTube. How do I not ruin my laundry? How do I tie a tie properly, different knots? And what I noticed when I went to those videos, they were so boring. It was like a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, but it was no energy, no nothing. And I felt like, hold on, I know I can teach people about FIFA, but I think I could do this in an entertaining way. And that's kind of become my niche, I would say, with YouTube, is that I can provide that information in a way that I think beginners, intermediate, and advanced players can take something from the video, but I can also do it where you're not going to fall asleep watching the video. Yeah. And that's always been a really big key, that I was able to showcase personality with my content. There's
obviously a good few FIFA players that do online videos as well. Have you ever come up against KSI?
Yeah, we've met on multiple occasions. We played FIFA against each other. I mean, when I first started my YouTube channel, KSI and myself, we used to talk a lot actually back then, because he wasn't as big and he was still really involved in FIFA. Not saying he got too big or anything like that, because he didn't. He's no longer playing FIFA, every single week. But back then he used to. But yeah, love KSI. Great for the community. I'm happy that he's kind of been able to do so much in the FIFA world, whether it was his old school videos and his series to now he's beating up people and boxing other YouTubers. He kind of creates the trend.
Yeah. I've just got 2 more questions before I let you go. Number 1 is, what do you make of the new FIFA?
FIFA 19 has been real interesting, man. There's some that's good and there's some that just needs to be fixed. And we'll see throughout the year how many patches we get, how many updates. I can tell you things that I like. I can tell you things I dislike. I mean, I think the time finishing is cool. I think a lot of the volleys and the way that you're able to kind of flick the ball and some of the new skill moves, I like it. On the defensive end, I hate this AI movement that I feel like we still have going. So if you don't know what you're doing with playing defense and you just leave the controller there, I feel like the AI will block shots for you. It'll make interceptions. It'll step for you. And that's not good for the progression of esports or making a skill gap, in my opinion.
It's almost impossible to get away from defenders now as well. No matter what player you are, the striker just can't seem to escape them.
It's a little bit of a slower paced game.
Yeah, tiny bit.
Compared to some of the past FIFAs.
I feel like the more realistic they make it every year, the less fun it becomes almost. And I think that's probably why they added these new games, that the likes of no rules, headers and volleys and that.
We'll see. I mean, as somebody on the competitive end, or just even on the content end, we don't play much head-to-head. We're almost always Ultimate Team. And, of course, when you're playing Ultimate Team, it's a little bit different than obviously the no rules and everything. It's all about building the best squad possible and then going from there. But yeah, I would say, I don't know if I would say less fun, but I would say as the game gets more realistic, the skill gap gets smaller.
Yeah.
Like that fast arcadey type of game, that makes it where only the best of the best are going to get every advantage, every turn, the tiki-taka, just because the game just constantly is going quicker and quicker and quicker. So whoever puts in the most time and then also has, of course, a fantastic team is going to kind of reap the rewards, reap the benefits.
Yeah. And finally, just before I let you go, how do you switch off? Because most people use FIFA and video games in general to just kind of switch off from their daily job, but that is your job. So what do you do to escape that?
I think it's important to make sure you're doing things outside of just being consumed from playing the game and creating content. Because a lot of people don't understand how much time it takes to create a YouTube video. You guys probably understand firsthand, because you're creating content. But like when you're like, one video might take me 6 hours, and that video is only 5 minutes long. And then you also streamed maybe for a couple hours that day. So it's really important after that, okay, am I going to go to the gym? Am I going to play real sports? I'm playing in a couple different soccer leagues right now, which is really good for my mental. What are you eating? Are you kicking with your friends still? Are you keeping up with those relationships? Making sure that some of your activities outside of work. I know it sounds funny saying FIFA is work, but it is.
Yeah.
And it's important to have, other hobbies or just other things going on in your life that keep you balanced. Like I kind of feel like everything in life is about balance, whether that's, work, whether that's, how you're taking care of your body, whatever it is. You just want to have the proper mix of everything, relationships, you name it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the key, man. And then finding what you love. Like, what do you enjoy doing? Do more of that. I think a lot of people get away from things they enjoy, and that's where you start hitting depression. And I see it all the time on social media where people, go up and down all the time. They're just, they're really happy, they're really sad. And I think that's actually a danger of social media sometimes. Like when you look at Instagram, for example, and there's nothing wrong with Instagram, but I feel like everybody showcases their best moment ever on Instagram. And then people watch that or they consume that and they think, oh man, everything this person does is amazing. Right? And then they get down on themselves a little bit. I've seen it a lot more recently where people were talking about how social can kind of bring them down a little bit. But yeah, no, it's important, man. Go outside. Figure out what you love doing. If you're a hiker, go hike, man. If you like riding a bike, go do that. If you need to play football, go do that. Whatever keeps your mind in the right place, balance that out with your work life.
Yeah. Mike LaBelle, thanks very much.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really
Cheers.
appreciate it.